of God is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. It's the exact same status of energy. It's exactly identical. The laws of energy are the laws of God. So when people speak of God as energy, they're very, very accurate. God is energy. Energy is God. The personification of energy, so like over here, Vitruvius, the personification, making energy into a person, which we are. We're a format of energy, obviously. And then giving that person a status over other people. So making a god out of a person. That is problematic. That is where you get your dictatorships, presidential, rulers, authoritarian, etc., etc. Your Hitler, your Tsars, your Sultans, all this kind of idea. Kings, rulers, domineers. That's when one makes this energy into one human, which you can clearly see this energy created all humans equal, absolutely equal. The canon of man, presented to us via Vitruvius, known as Vitruvian man until Da Vinci took over and represented it, and now it's known as Da Vinci, Da Vinci man, or Da Vinci's presentation of the canon of man, has all the measurements of man from taken at 1.76 centimeters, so 1 meter and 76 centimeters. That's the average height of man or woman. We reference man as woo, man or man, but we're talking genderless. As you can see here, both genders are represented. I would imagine the woman is behind the man, because this is in Masonic times. Vitruvian and Da Vinci were both Masons under different names, meaning the Masonic the Masonic group was not called the Scottish Rites of Freemasonry at this period of time. I am not sure which one it is. Do excuse me, folks. Sorry. Give me 1 second. I'm not sure which period of time, perhaps Skull and Crossbones, but that's irrelevant. What's important is to realize that the creation of the flower of life, the creation of this pattern, and how it got there, this is its first formation. Now, if you look carefully, we may find exactly a picture of how it's developed here. We can go into that in a second. If you just look at the basic formation, use your mind and see this as the first circle. Follow my, make it bigger. See this as my first circle. Remember our first circle? Okay. Our first circle took its center and it moved its center to here. Here's our next circle. You see it? And when it did that, it created the versica Pisces. So between this circle center and this circle center, here is your versica Pisces. That colored turquoise bit that I was just showing you, sorry, over here. That bit there is this bit here, colored in. You see it, folks? You see it there as I move across the space? The whole piece. Look at it. That's it. I'm going to flick back so you can see it again. Last time. Right. Now remember what I said to you. That circle clones itself and moves and becomes over here. Then that circle clones itself and takes its center to its edge and clones itself, and there it is. And then it keeps repeating. It takes the center to its edge along this line right there, and it clones itself. And it goes to the edge, and it clones itself, and it repeats that pattern until you get what's called the flower of life, which is actually the seed of life in front of you here, which becomes the fruit of life as this pattern continues. You see, once the center decides to move to its edge and recreate itself, clone itself, and then move to its edge and recreate itself, and continue to move around the edge of the original circle and clone itself, following a very distinct pattern, never leaving the edge of its circle, cloning itself, it will come back to the original spot. Now it's already cloned itself, so it's not going to repeat that. It's not stupid. So what's it going to do from here? Well, it can only do what it did before. It can only repeat exactly what it knows what to do. But it can't repeat it in the same space because it did that already. Because this is the energy of creation. This is the God energy. So it's going to create itself because it's a pattern, a geometrical pattern, but not in the same space. So it only has one option from this point. It needs to do what it did from here. It moved to its edge and it made a circle. So from this point it needs to move to its edge and it will make a new circle, and the pattern will then continue to spiral around until it comes back to the same space and will make a new circle and keep spiraling around. And that is how you get this formation, these formations. They're just the continuation of the same format, of the same pattern, spiraling around and around and around. And yeah, it's just got an edge to it because this pattern of spiraling can go on forever and ever and ever. And it's what created what we know as the energy matrix or the energy formation pattern, in which you will find every single energetic and physical form, including thought and emotion. This pattern is known geometrically as the God pattern. This is the omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent energy matrix known as God. So God is not a physical white man with a beard that rules Christianity and has a son called Jesus. That is just one small Western white man story within this pattern. For instance, within this flower of life pattern that I'm showing you, within this matrix pattern, just one of these circles, that's simplified for you, maybe that's, there we go, just one of these circles, maybe not the center one, any one, they're all equal. This was just the beginning. It had to begin somewhere and then replicate itself, but they're all equal. They're all identical. It's not like this one then became that one. This one is that one. This is the quantum physical status. This is the God understanding. There is only one, and it just replicates itself. It's everywhere at once. Omnipresent. omniscient and omnipotent. It has energy and potency. We know it does. It's called electricity. Just test it on your hand. Stick your finger in a socket. I did it when I was 4. I knew there's power there. Here's my question, folks. In this formation, in this, if we accept this is the geometrical expression of the godly status, omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. If we accept that, then I'll ask you, if this circle over here is the Christian God with the white beard and he has the son Jesus, and this circle over here is the God Allah, and he has the son Muhammad, and this one over here, this is the God Vishnu and Krishna and Brahma, that's their son. And this one over here, this is the Mayan of Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan and the whole Mayan dialects. And this one over here, this is the Aboriginal gods of Bolong. This one over here, this is a Native American god. This is Wankantanga. Now I want to know from you folks, which god is better? Because all these gods are the same. Remember what I told you? This is the same circle. There is no difference. This is the same circle. It's not another circle. This is quantum. This is energy we're talking about. This is not the gross, vulgar, profane, minute mind of the Mason who says that that is your mind. Because clearly, as one of those profane, vulgar, minute-minded people, I'm explaining to you the Masonic agenda. I'm explaining their game. So, and I've worked out their game. So that may show that my mind is not so profane, vulgar, and inappropriate to the Masonic elite. Maybe they can understand that they are vulgar, profane, and inappropriate. Nor welcome, nor wished, nor wanted. In fact, you are like the self-proclaimed, self-created beast. You yourselves, the Scottish Rite of Freemasonic Society, who now rules the world, from your King Charlie III all the way down through his son, who are about to dominate Western society through Serco, who are about to bring in the social crediting system that has been experimented on in China. The same society who shakes hands all around the world. Mr. Trump, playing the trump card for the Masons, went around the world and shook hands with all the Masonic leaders, if you didn't see. You wonder why he did that? It's time, folks. Trump was the trump card. He was the Berlin Wall. He is the Hitler, or was, or is, as you like to see it. This doesn't lie with one man ever. They are all puppets in the Masonic show. There is an agenda and it must be reached. No man is invincible, and every man is replaceable. But the agenda must be reached. Now, the agenda of the Freemasonic Society at the moment in your lives is about deception. They need to have you believe a certain idea, ideology and concepts for you to comply with their agenda. Therefore, they use psyopses, psychological operations, constantly to control your mind, to control your body, so that you don't rebel. The only thing they do not want you to do is not to comply. You must obey. It's written all over the fashion of the day. Check it out. It's a fashion statement. Obey. The idea of gods is a control mechanism, a psyop. There's a god for every culture. Because imagine you went to the Muslims and tried to sell them the Christian God. And imagine you went to the Christians and tried to sell them the Muslim God. And there's a reason why I'm using those two races, because we could use any others. And that's because in the past, the Moors, which were the Arabs, had come across the Med and controlled and run and ruled Spain and all the way up through to France, right near the, I think right into France. Of course, in the Christian Moorish wars, they were pushed right back, and of course now you have the boundaries you have and the problems you have. But these Christian Moorish wars, these Arab Christian wars, these white Muslim wars never went away, as you can see over the past couple of years from America's behavior. And now, as some of us are alerting you to, the Hilton hotels have recently been taken over as encampments for up to 200 Muslim men. Not many women and children seen in these places. What you would call asylum seekers from their turmoil of their country. But you would think that it would be equal in males and females, or particularly females, so to secure the reproduction of the race, you know, after the genocides and turmoils that they've gone through from America, basically. What else can we say? It's been splurred all over television. No secret there. But why do we have these encampments of basically soldiers, men, Muslim men, Moorish men, in Christian country, and not sort of integrating as families in the way it used to be done? So one has to start to ask, what are these Muslim pods or cells throughout the UK? And what's going on with these people, and why are they there, and what are they preparing for? Is this a possible preparation for a civil Muslim-Christian war? Is the UK government or beyond, the deep state, going to throw in, through Antifa, some sort of explosive behavior pattern or agenda that's going to kick off a Muslim Christian war on UK soil? A domestic war, a civil war in the streets. Is that what we're heading for here? It's just a question some people are asking. Just asking for a friend. Fact check me. So getting back to the flower of life, the seed of life, the fruit of life being the first 7 circles here, folks, and there's 7 circles, not 6. 6 around the one cannot be with each other, so there's 7. These 7 circles repeat in 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, and that is the pattern of the flower of life. The flower of life, the matrix pattern, the God pattern, is 777, not 666. That should tell you something. That 777 is above 666. Yeah. So, folks, this is known as the seed of life, and the second phase of 7 is the fruit of life, and the third phase makes your flower of life, which would be something like that. If you can see this inside there, repeated 3 times, you get to this phase. So, folks, this is what we call the God energy, or energy. There is nothing before this, which is why it's called the God energy, because before this it's a black hole. It's like that part there. There is nothing, no one thing. We can pop back here, and we can maybe say, let's say light forming from Versica Pisces, and then we'll move on, folks. Let's just touch on this. Wow, let's get some images up. Wow, okay, let's find something basic here for you. So, well, for me too. Right, brilliant. I love it. Look at this, folks. Right. I don't like to explain something to you, folks, and then not give you the full understanding. I don't want to say to you the Versica Pisces is the formation of all light without showing you why. And here's why in front of you. The Versica Pisces creates perception, which is the north-south, or this up-down axis, left-right, and there's a forward-backward, so a forward-backward axis. These over here, up-down, left-right, forward-backsies. Forward-backsies. So this is the foundation of the formation of light. Okay, so let's stay with a simple one. The first thing to occur when you get the Versica Pisces is you have these width and length dimensions. That dimension is what's known as the golden mean ratio. Okay, I'm not going to go into what that is. The golden mean ratio is a specific mathematics, which is basically what I showed you, the mathematics of how these circles make this seed of life, which becomes the fruit of life and the flower of life with this continuous spiral. This is the feminine form, the spiral. Remember I said the masculine form spirals out in angles, but it spirals out bigger and bigger in its angular form. So this is what they're showing you. This is what they're trying to show you there, but that's a little complicated. That's what they're trying to show you here too. The beginning of the formation of the logarithmic spiral that comes out of the Versica Pisces. So as soon as this circle moves itself to its edge, as soon as the center of this circle moves itself to its edge and reforms itself, clones itself, it creates the Versica Pisces, and this logarithmic mathematical geometric form that spirals outward instantly at light speed as the formation of light, as it is light. That is how light is created, folks. One black hole relocated to its center, to its edge, for reforming itself over here in a clone form, creating the Versica Pisces by the formation of the two black holes or circles. And that Versica Pisces, the very first Versica Pisces, spiraled out the matrix of the seed of life, the flower of life, and kept spiraling, and spiraled out what supposedly has been measured to 45 billion light years is the calculation, I believe. Not that it matters. So folks, just let's keep it basic. One sphere, one black hole, relocating its center to its edge, just moving this distance, and just basically one black hole cloning and relocating, so replicating itself and moving to its edge and being there creates the Versica Pisces and the spiral of light. And the spiral of light is the flower of life pattern, which I was just on before, that all of life, this pattern, that all of life is within. Absolutely everything is found within this energy pattern, because absolutely everything is a formation of energy, made from energy. You'll notice that this is a very feminine pattern. You're seeing all the female spirals and the female flower of life. This also has a male aspect to it. It can be seen in a male format. It has obviously male and female energy, as it's electromagnetic, because it's energy. If we add the word male, we may see the male format of it. Oh, I didn't mean male men, I meant male, the male format. I mean, you can see the male format within the female format, very simply, but let's do it a little bit differently. It would be difficult to show you, so it's down the center lines, basically. That's Metatron's cube. That's a tree of life that's found within the flower of life. This is very important over here, Metatron's cube, and all the information there. If we look at this, I'll try to show you, folks, otherwise I'll go and struggle to find it. If you go to the center circle, let's take the simplified version. If we go to the center circle, it all comes from the center, from the beginning of this first circle. if you took a straight line through to the edge instead of a curvaceous line. So remember how we took this circle and we moved it to its edge and it replicated itself. So from here we moved on a curvaceous line to its edge. So imagine we moved on a straight line. And then this circle replicated itself by moving on a curvaceous line to its edge, to the edge of this circle, and it replicated itself. So imagine again, we didn't move on a curvaceous line, we moved on a straight line. So you've got a straight line from here, and a straight line from here, and a straight line, and now we've got straight lines, you see? But when we get back here, this curved out to here to start the next phase of circles. Remember I told you? But we take a straight line, and then from there a straight line, and then a straight line. So you're going to get a square spiral. That is the male formation of the flower of life, and you see all these circles in squares. But I don't seem to be able to pull it up under that title. I'm not going to run around looking for it, but that's what the male spiral of the formation of the flower of life is. In fact, you know what, folks? Let's see if we can get it under a different name like this. The logarithmic spiral. Let's see if we can get under there for you. Oh, beautiful. So folks, this is the logarithmic spiral of life. This is the spiral that created all of those conches and shells that you see, and created the flower of life pattern, which that is another form of. And in its simplest form, the logarithmic spiral is a golden mean spiral, is a very, very simple mechanism. But you see how this spiral comes out here. Well, imagine this was the center of that flower of life circle that I showed you. So that's the center of your first circle. Then the center of that circle moved to its edge, and it made another circle that crossed through the center like that. Okay? Then that center of that circle moved to its edge and it made another circle. And that center moved to its edge and made another circle. And that circle made another circle. And when it came to the seventh circle, it had to move to the outside, further outside. So come to about the seventh circle here it would be. It needed to move outside and continue the circles. Well, you'll find those circles follow this logarithmic spiral. Circles on circles on circles on circles on circles on circles. So when I was saying to you that the geometry of the flower of life, the geometry of the Versica Pisces, the geometry of the center of this, the geometry, why light spirals out of here, is what I'm talking about here, is this geometry. This is the reason why light spirals out of the Versica Pisces, because of these rectangles getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and following the same mathematical equation constantly, known as the logarithmic spiral, forming this logarithmic spiral. And this equation is very, very basic. It's a rectangle, it's this rectangle, and it's, you'll have to look up the mathematics, I can't recall off my top of my head, but it's super basic. You basically take a rectangle and then you take 1/3 bigger each time. I think that's how it works out. Yeah, 1/3 bigger. And there's a mathematics for it. It's like this width divided by that length, something or another, or added, sorry folks, I don't have the mathematics in my brain right now, but it's so easy to look up under logarithmic spiral the mathematics of a logarithmic spiral and go down that. I wanted to sort of stay a bit more general and not go down too deep in too many rabbit holes, because we won't get to where we're trying to get to. So I'll leave. We can always get back to any of this area that you're interested in. We can do a video on it, but I'll just leave you with that now, because that's basically my point. The logarithmic spiral, the phi ratio, the golden mean spiral, the mathematics of all spirals that create all these patterns and conchas and creatures and all things in life when you go into it, that spiral comes out the center of the Versica Pisces. Right there, you can see it. I think that was quite a good one. You can see there cyclones, all sorts. I mean, it's all through life. Comes out the center of the Versica Pisces. Yeah, you can see. Now, yeah, is excellent. It shows you that this spiral not only spirals this way, but it equally spirals out in the opposite, equal and opposite direction. So you get this double spiral, which you can see here, makes the Versica Pisces. As you go deeper, it gets more clear. There's a smaller one, a smaller, and it goes into itself. It's micro and macro, large and small, and it's what you know as pixelated. So it's replicated under, you can see this under the Mandelbrot fractals. Mandelbrot, it's almond bread in German. So if you go and look under M-O-N, Mondel, D-E-L, Brot, B-R-O-T, Mandelbrot fractals, you will see the energy formation that he created technologically for you to understand how the macro and micro, as above so below, law of, well, came through Thoth, but the law of understanding of the system expresses itself digitally on computer. So you can see the micro and macro idea replicate itself in front of you and get an understanding of how, no matter how deep you go into the pattern, you will always find the same pattern. No matter how small, how micro you collapse in, you will always find the same geometry and the same mathematics, just on a very small format. It'll be micro. And no matter how much you expand outwards, you'll always find the same mathematics. It'll just be on a macro level. Kind of like everybody knows you take a seed. You plant a seed, and in the end a tree grows. A whole tree comes out of the seed. That's magnificent. That's magic. What's really magical, though, is all the information to make a tree was in the chip. Sorry, the seed. The seed is a digital chip of information, but it's a biological chip of information. It's a flora. It's part of the chlorophyllic chip of information. It's a natural chip of information. So, who created, and get this, folks, yep, you just got it, who created all these biological chips of information that when they come in contact with darkness under the soil and water, moisture, two of the elements available, propagated by warmth, the light, the sun, and pollinated by wind, grow into plants that the fauna, the other side of the experiment, the other side of nature, can consume, gain nutrition from, and live by. Who created the biological chips that hold information, that create forests, ecosystems, complete and utter ecosystems that sustain life. Who created those chips? Because seeds are chips of information. That is an incredibly self-sustaining biological fauna and flora, plant and animal, co-respirating, carbon dioxide, oxygen sharing system. The animals breathe out their oxygen and the plants breathe it in. The animals breathe out carbon dioxide, the plants breathe it in, and the plants breathe out oxygen, the animals breathe it in. Us, we breathe it in. Who created that beautiful, beautiful natural system that has all the information in all its little chips and seeds, that grows forests for its animals, us, and we can all live in harmony without anything else? Because that system, that natural fauna and flora system, that biological, magical, beautiful, peaceful system, that system is a little bit different to computer chips, which hold information, which go into robots, which then do what they're told according to the chip, and they're made of metal, and they don't grow anything, and you can't consume anything from them, and they don't give you nutrition, and they're not symbiotic. So the information in the chips goes into robots to make you enslaved, to make work for people, and in the end to make people redundant once the robots work better than people with the chips of information, with the robots you made and the chips you made. So humans are basically outsourcing. I'm sorry, they're not outsourcing themselves, they're obsoleting themselves. Humans are suiciding, they're taking their life, they're deceasing themselves, they're unliving themselves is the new word. Basically, humans are automating themselves out of jobs and then out of necessity, and you won't be necessary anymore. So then the Georgia Guidestones, which were put up a couple of years ago, that as the new 10 commandments for the new modern society, the new age, by the New World Order, Novus Seclorum, Orden Seclorum Nordus, the new age, by these folk. And as they state on the right on the top, they want to bring down humanity to 500,000 controllable elite humans living in smart cities, and have the rest of the functions run by chipped robots and computers, which basically makes possibly 8 or 8.5 billion people, 9 billion, 9.5 billion people obsolete. So how are they going to get rid of 9 billion people? That's bigger than any world war ever. Or is it? What does it take to get rid of 9 billion people? Nuclear war? Genocide? Poison? Flood? Alien invasion? Which one? Probably war is too gross. It's profane. It's vulgar. It's of the peasantry, slavery, pathetic, lower vibrational humans like us. Floods, oh my gosh, what a mess. And does it take a long time for the water to retract? Oh gosh, how profane, vulgar. Let's say virus. Well, now, tried that already in 2019. is kind of working, but it's a bit slow. We're not so happy with the results. We thought they'd be more like a pandemic, like maybe like people falling down everywhere, but no. So, what shall we do? Well, those aliens, those bad aliens, those greys that we've been psyoping the nation for years and years with, they're on every chip packet and biscuit packet and all over the place, on every movie across Netflix, every cinema. The neurolinguistic programming, the predictive programming, the brainwashing is obvious. Everybody knows from Roswell to right now about grey aliens. You don't know about any other aliens, but you know about the greys. So that is what you call preparation. Because these people can't create realities, they need you. That's why they tell you things. You ask always, why do they tell us? Because they need you. They don't have the creative capacity. Like they're telling you, their left eye is shut. Their feminine divine, their right brain that runs the left side of their existence is shut off. They don't have feminine creative ability. They only have logical dominant ability. The male dominant side of the brain is fully functioning, 100%. There is no feminine divine creative ability. So they can't create realities because they don't have emotions, because they chose to kill that side of themselves a long time ago, to set aside emotion and to work from the logical left brain, the male, let's call it the male brain. And hence they shut off the female brain, shown by the left eye closing, or the female side of the body closing down. Now, this male dominance through the digital age, smart cities and Masonic control of the elites, with the Hunger Games idea, everybody out on the peripheries trying to survive, that's basically where this obscene, obsessive Masonic society wants to end up. With an elite world, and the vulgar, profane scum can now be dismissed because we have robots who are less vulgar and profane and will do our jobs for us at the drop of a hat without any yes or no, or even possibility of saying no, because they have been programmed. This is the world of absolute authoritarian control. The dystopian world of George Orwell, 84, and written in 48, that he was on about. And whether or not in the up and coming, and it is up and coming, by 2030 it will be your reality, so stand by. The alien invasion actually involves greys from elsewhere, greys from subterranean, cloned greys, Project Blue Beam of projected greys, whether it's projected from the space station, and Elon Musk's SpaceX is basically the big space stage event coming up. It doesn't really matter who's involved or what. What matters is that the Masonic society need to eliminate a large amount of humans, and they are looking for a way to do that at the moment. We're talking about most of us. What they've chosen to go for is an alien invasion, so they can blame somebody who's not human. basically. Averting blame. But as that's not really actually possible, they will stage this event. They will use projected alien craft through Operation Bluebeam, and they will fire on humanity from the space stations, and all sorts of sub-dimensional craft. So to you they will appear like UFOs, or what they're calling UAPs, but these are all reverse engineered either alien craft or informed. In other words, the information is, I'm not so sure they ever actually have any craft, but they certainly have the information on how to create these craft, and have done since Admiral Beard went down to so-called investigate the Antarctic. But what I believe Admiral Beard was a patsy. I believe Admiral Beard was sent down there with tanks, planes, ships, and armed forces on a small micro level to see how the armed forces of that time, in 40 whatever it was, 50 whatever it was, when Admiral Beard went down there, would fare against the Foo Fighters. So the craft, the anti-gravitational craft that had been created by the Nazi scientists that they were working on in Germany and then moved it to the Antarctic base, that fight there, that's documented by Admiral Beard and some in his diary, and that whole story was basically a micro war against alien craft. And of course the Foo Fighters did very well and obliterated Admiral Beard's ships, planes and tanks with no problem, and he went back and reported on that. So that was almost 50 odd years ago, maybe 60. And you can imagine where we are now with that technology. You're seeing what's called Tic Tacs flying around, which appears like they're alien because they're non-gravitational, and they seem to be moving at what's close to light speed. They seem to be subterranean, sub-aqua. Very, very minimal limitations. But all of that is very simply information created, just like a computer chip. Imagine somebody saying to a farmer 100 years ago, explaining a computer chip, or even asking him to create one, to invent one. It's impossible. So the information develops slowly, and finally we get to computer chips now, in this era. Same with craft. Slowly we create more craft, and we get to this time, in this era. Please don't believe that your public knowledge is in the era. It's probably 100 years behind. Anything we know happened 100 years ago, at least, maybe 50 if we're lucky. So let's understand what we see now, they got right 50 years ago. So let's move on, folks. So that now we understand the spirals of light and why the Versica Pisces ejects a spiral of light in a male and female form, and that they come out of this Versica Pisces, of the movement of black holes, which continue that movement and create the matrix of energy and the God, what's known as the God matrix, brings us all the way back to the beginning, which is the Masons. So this image you see, folks, let's just pop up one of these a bit bigger. This image you see is the Versica Pisces in a male form. So yeah, let's deal with male is straight lines and angles. So 90-degree angle is the absolute male epitome. Any other straight lines and angles are all male. So this diamond shape is a male Versica Pisces, the male formation of light, out of which comes the Grand Master. So they are controlling the light matrix on which everything is based. God, Grand Master, gravity, geometry, and much, much more. Now, the thing about the Grand Masters and Freemasonry and the usage of the male straight lines and angles and the tools that make straight lines and 90-degree angles, i.e. the set square and the dividers. Did you hear me? Every YouTuber out there, every Masonic presenter out there, every single person from this day on talking about the Freemasons and their symbol. Please correct yourself and start speaking of this geometric tool as dividers. The tools of the Mason are the set square. It's a square that is set. It's a set square. It's a non-mutable, non-movable right angle. 4 of them make a square. In 3D, a cube. Cubes on top of each other are called buildings. The Masons are the builders of civilizations. They are the Freemasons, your civilization creators. They create civilizations with straight lines and angles. Civilizations are created and produced in cities. Cities create civilizations. Cities and civilizations are based in Masonic rule or rulers of measurement and distance and time and position and placement of buildings on nodal points, grid points, reference points, knowledgeable reference points, points where you know where to put them for what reason. These buildings are created with 90-degree angles called corners. These buildings are created with 90-degree angles called corners and distances between the next corner, from corner to corner. It could be a very long distance. These distances from set square 90-degree angled corner to corner are measured with dividers. Dividers measure distance and hold straight-lined distance. Dividers are not a compass. There is no pencil point. There is no point of attachment for a pencil. This tool of geometry is a divider. It divides the people from the elite. It also measures straight lines. A compass is not for measurement. A compass one attaches a pencil to and draws circular, feminine, divine features, not male, straight-lined, Masonic features. Folks, in sacred geometry, straight lines and angles are known as male geometry. And curvaceous lines are known as female geometry, the flowers of life, female geometry. This is male geometry. Pyramids are straight lines and angles. This is male geometry. If you go to the pyramids and you do the measurements of the pyramids, you will find the pyramid measurements are based on 12. You will find that the Masonic elite is based on 12. You will find that the Masonic system under which you live is based on 12. We started this earlier by explaining to you that you live by 12 hours. You live by 12 months. Yep. You live by the system of 12. And the system of 12 rules your life. And the system of 12 is a system of 6-6, which is 12. Your tides move in and out 6 hours on a 6-hour cycle. That is not natural. It's implemented by the moon. The moon is an artificial invasion to the system which affects the waters on Earth and causes tides to come in and out on a 6-hourly pulse, magnetic pulse, which the moon pulses down to the earth. In ancient history, in the ancient writings, it is explained that the moon was not always there, and it explains when and how it was brought in to this environment, and that where it was brought from and who it brought with it, and how that controlling elite of 12, the Council of 12, how the moon is the headquarters of the Council of 12, and how the Council of 12, known as the Freemasonic Society, the Scottish Rites of Freemasonry at present, known through many names through the past to keep themselves hidden, are now ruling your world under the guise of the pulsations of their HQ, the moon. You work under a clock divided in half of 6 hours, doubled into 12 hours, doubled into 24 hours. You work under the pulsation, the magnetic pulsation, the magnetic timing of the moon, which is an artificial invasion, an artificial insemination. It's come into your system and your culture. You now accept the moon as the feminine to the sun, which is absolute bullshit. The opposing and counter-beneficial gender of the sun is the earth. If you want to make the sun the male, the earth is the female. But they are counter-beneficial. It's not really about male and female, it's about two friends. Without the source of UV light, life cannot exist on Earth. Without the sun, nothing lives. Take away the sun, and darkness will prevail, and all life will cease. Take away all life, and what is the point of the sun but to scorch nothingness? So you will find that the sun and the earth work in perfect harmony. And the sun's orbital pattern affects the earth in an electromagnetic form and cycle of 28 days. Not the moon. The moon has a 28-day cycle of waxing and waning, full moons and new moons. But this is simply to mimic the sun. And to take the place of the earth and the sun. So instead of woman menstruating and connecting with the sun as their cycle, being the sun is all man and woman's cycle. When it's low, it's winter, remember? When it's high, it's summer, and in between it's spring and autumn. The moon has nothing to do with that. Planting by the moon is insane. You need to plant by the sun. That's the thing that grows. That's the source that grows everything, not the moon. There is much deception amongst humanity. So you can see how your humanity is riddled with 12 by the council of 12. Who are here to confuse and confuddle your minds and to control them in the end. Why would you live by daily, hourly timing of 12 instead of 13, when 13 is your natural cycle? Why, when you see, and let's use the moon, 13 full moons, so the moon trying to mimic the 13 sun cycles, and we use the moon there to show you because you can't see the 13 sun cycles, but you can see 13 full moons trying to mimic those 13 sun cycles every 28 days. Over 1 year period. So over 1 year period you have 13 full moons of 28 days. When you do that calculation, 13 times 28, you get 364 days, not 365 days. Now therein lies a huge Masonic psyop, because if every year is 1 day longer than its cycle, in other words, imagine every December for the last 2,000 years you added on 1 day. So the first December was the 31st of December, no? But the second was the 32nd. Then it was the 33rd, 34th, 35th, 36th. By now you'll have December the 2054 or something, won't it be? So that's what I'm showing you. The natural cycle is 364 days. In that cycle, in what's called a yearly cycle. There are many cycles. There's greater years and smaller day cycles and weekly cycles and monthly cycles. But that cycle of 13 times 28, 13 sun cycles of 28 days seen by the moon mimicking the sun, is 364 days. That's the cycle. You can't add another day and tell humanity that there's 365 days in that cycle, because every year they will be going out of time by 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. On year 10 you'll be out of time by 10 days. Any builder will know if you take a level and it's slightly out, 10 meters away from the level in either direction, it's very out. And the further you go, the more out it is, meaning the more discrepancy there is between level and unlevel. Well, it's the same with time. Exactly the same as with measurement. If you add 1 day on every year for 2023 years, you're 2023 days out of time, out of your natural cyclical timing. And of course, if you put a leap year in there once every 4 years, you add on an extra day every 4 years for all that 2023 years, which gives you about 500 and something, 404 years. And when you add those all together, you end up with approximately 2,500 years, 2,500 something years. When you divide that by 364, you end up with almost 8 years. Days. So you end up with 2,500 days, and when you divide that by 364, you end up with 8 years. What I'm telling you, folks, is now in 2023, you are 8 years ahead of the natural Mayan and universal cycles of time. So in 2020, when the shit hit the fan properly for everybody, that was actually 2012. But you are 8 years ahead of time because you've been put out for 2,000 years out of time by lies, manipulation of your calendar. Interesting. When time was reset in the Great Reset at the so-called birth of Christ, AD BC. Remember that Christ, that Jesus, that Son of that God was so-called murdered on the 33rd day, 33rd year of his life, 33rd degree Freemasonry, sacrifice, murder. You've got to look at the stories, folks. The people have been around a long, long time under different names. This group has been traveling. They are known as the creators of civilization, the Council of Nine. They are responsible for the creation of Sumeria, Babylon, Greece, Rome, and the modern society we have today. These are your anti-naturalists. These are the people who put concrete down and build with set squares and dividers. They measure distance and angle. Distance and angle. You ask me, how can you measure long distance with a divider? Well, you measure whatever distance you need to and times it by whatever distance you need to. It's that simple. You can take this distance out into the anywhere, and you can put a distance on here, and then you times it by 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, and you'll get your distance. That's what it's for. It's a divider. It measures distance, and as you tighten the screw, it stays in position and holds the distance. While this measures angle, the 90-degree angle, and of course here you have your metric centimeters on there, your metric design, your metric measurements. This same Council of 12 brought you the metric measurements of 10, the decimal, 10, 100, 1,000, million, ones and zeros. What else is ones and zeros? Yes, the binary code of computers, of the silicone invasion, the silicone aliens, because that's what they are. The whole technological world is created from silicone, and we are carbon. That's the problem. It's a carbon-silicone war on one level, and a spiritual war on another. So just so you understand, folks, quite categorically, the Masons and the Illuminati are all in one. There's only one society running the whole world at the moment, and they are symbolized by this eye, by the pyramid here, you see it there, you see it there, by this sex symbol, a man copulating with a woman, by the G, by the explosion, by everything that this sign tells you it is, often seen with the I or the G or both of them. You understand that these are the people running your so-called globe, what they tell you live on a globe, which is another conspiracy, but we're not going into that right now. These people, they don't measure globes. They have no idea how to measure a sphere. They're not feminine divine. These people are masculine. They build right angles and straight lines. That's what they build. Skyscrapers, buildings, and cities. That's their thing. Now then, as you can see over there is top of skyscraper. So please, folks, let's get that right, that is not a compass. Okay, that is not a compass. A compass is used very differently. So here's a very obvious difference. It's got images, and we pop one up for you. Let's just get a compass up. So folks, this is a